So more tea is about to be spilled regarding this whole Nicola Peltz situation where, her father is problematic. Once upon a time, he had a stake in Disney and ended up selling it because he didn't like the direction. He felt that they were going woke with a lot of their stuff. He didn't like the fact that women were being propped up in these big roles and stuff in the MCU. When I'm like, have you never read a comic book? There are a lot of strong female characters that are in these. I mean, I know people hate the phrase, but I got to get to the point. I ain't got time to be sitting up here trying to coddle people's feelings over certain terminologies. But strong female characters in comic books and all this other stuff, apparently he has a problem with that. Then he decided, he word on the curb is he controls Nicola. He basically bought her an acting career. We'll have to see how that turns out, if people give a damn about the movie she makes or what she's going to star in. And he paid for her acting and everything. But I'm like, what does this broad even start in? Except for the only thing that this girl seems to be good at is making the men she encounters lives live in hell. One of them being Anwar Hadid. So once upon a time, yes, she used to date Bella and Gigi's brother, Anwar, which I never knew what he looked like, because I remember when I used to watch The Housewives of Beverly Hills and Yolanda was on the show. I never knew. Or maybe I wasn't paying attention. Maybe it's been so many years, I don't remember if Anwar's ever appeared on the show. But I never remember what the boy looked like, but he's in the picture as I got on the right hand side. Well, my right, your left. So according to reports, they said Nicola Peltz was reportedly very controlling over ex-boyfriend Anwar Hadid, and his family are still relieved the former couple called it quits. Anwar, who was 17 at the time, began seeing Peltz in 2016 before she dated now husband Brooklyn Beckham. She was in Transformers Age of no wonder I don't remember that movie. I think I've never watched it because them Transformers movies got terrible after the second one. So they said the Transformers Age of Extinction actress, who was 22 at the time, reportedly monopolized his time and wanted to be the first priority and would flip out on him, the Daily Mail reported on Friday. The outlet claimed the Hadids believe Peltz took advantage of the much younger model. The family members reportedly still talk about her and how he's better off without her. Now, reps for Peltz and Hadid, the brother of models Gigi and Bella, did not immediately respond to Page Six's request for comment. Now, the duo called it quits in 2018 after 2 years together, with Peltz moving on with Lonnie's Paul Klein. Before, well, it's a Lany. I don't know what that is. Is that fashion? Whatever, I don't know. Or is that a band name? I don't know. I never heard of this person. Before she began dating Beckham in late 2019. Now, Peltz was 31 and the Cooking with Brooklyn star, also 5 years her junior. Oh, she got a thing for young men. Maybe she feels that, because she's older, which I find that hella problematic, whether you're male or female. When you're an older person who gets with a younger person, it depends on the situation. If you're wise beyond your years, I could totally get you dating someone older. But yeah, I noticed that a lot of times, especially with Gen Z, they have a problem with older and younger because they feel that there's a power dynamic. And to me, in this situation, it definitely feels like there might be a power dynamic with this girl, especially with the Peltz and where she comes from and that whole family and what they're all about and how they're staunch Trump supporters, and the fact that her father is problematic because apparently he don't like anything that is showing women in a strong light. He probably, there's racism or whatever the case is. He just don't like anything that's going to show any kind of, he doesn't like diversity in a lot of the things, which caused it because they wouldn't, there was a whole deal that was going on. He ended up selling his shares of Disney because he couldn't take the woke garbage, as they will call it. So then they said they got engaged, her in Brooklyn in July of 2020, excuse me, and walked down the aisle in Florida, of all places. In April of 2022, the star-studded nuptials made headlines for alleged tension between the bride and mother-in-law, Victoria Beckham, with estrangement rumors ramping up last year. On Monday, as y'all know, Brooklyn slammed Victoria and his father, David Beckham, as controlling parents who tried to ruin his relationship with Peltz. As celebrities picked sides, Anwar's sister Alana Hadid blasted Peltz in a scathing Instagram comment. The 40-year-old insisted Peltz doesn't want privacy and has been trying to be famous for a decade. She took aim at Brooklyn and as well, ending an 8-paragraph rant about his family's dirty laundry with "all we want is privacy is all I need to know." Which makes sense because you can't go out there and say, "I want privacy," but then you do a whole 8-page citation in your Instagram stories and it's spilling tea about your family. Then you were making accusations about your mother and your father and all these other things, but you wasn't elaborating more. Like if you're going to open up the can of worms, if you're going to spill it, and as I always say, if you're going to tell it all. You can't sit up in here and be selective in the tea and how much tea you want to spill, but then we got to sit up in here and try to fill the blanks. You invited us all into the group chat, sir. So once we in the group chat, Miley was good. Like, I need to know all of it because you can't sit and tell us how much you want to spill. And then there's other things I want to get to because this is multi-layer on what they're saying in regards of why Victoria might be low-key liking all of this attention, because with all this attention coming on this whole situation, it's actually got people listening to her music. Because, once upon a time, I don't know if people realize this, she's a member of the Spice Girls. It's a joke. It's like, come on, you got to be living under a rock if you didn't know that Vicky B is a part of the Spice Girls. That's Five Spice. But also, once upon a time, she did put out a solo album that flopped. And now I got people listening to the music. So people out here, because of all this drama, they're discovering Vicky B's musical side. So I do agree with that. But it's like, you got one, why you got one of the Hadid sisters dragging Nicola and using people for clout by because you can't sit up in here and be a Nepo baby and then talk about you want privacy, but then you go on a fashion week, you do all the things that your privilege allows you to do. You being the child of Posh and Bex, it allows you to get in those rooms that a regular Joe is not going to be able to get himself in. So in a way, I get it. And it could be, look, two things can exist at the same time. Excuse me. You can have asshole controlling parents, but you can't go around and call them out on it when you need to. But you also can't go and run over and marry somebody who's wealthier than your family, meaning the Peltz, because they're billionaires, and then talk about how you want privacy, you want these other things. Because if it comes down to it, it makes sense that your mother would be like, you're Brooklyn Beckham. You being the child of us, we have to sign your name on a certain thing and secure it so that way you could profit off of it and all these other things because you are so. Same thing when you look at the Kardashians and their children, Northwest and all of them, you got to trademark their names and all this other stuff, because if you don't, someone's going to make money off of that name. You got to be able to own your name. That's part of branding. And you out here, I understand you want to be normal. You want to, carve out your own identity. You can do all of that in private. But you have to realize, like, if you don't want to be Brooklyn Beckham, you want to be regular schmegular, whatever, and get yourself a little job in a coffee shop and be regular, then maybe you need to give up all the things and all the privilege. But I'll call bullshit on it. You don't want to give all that up. Because if you have to sit out here and be like us regular folks struggling, you ain't gonna last 5 minutes. And especially when you was born with a silver spoon in your mouth and you've been able to endure all the privileges that you've been given because of who you are. I can't feel sorry for you in a lot of ways. I mean, I feel sorry if your parents have been treating you like shit, but I'm side-eyeing you on the other stuff. Now, speaking of all this other stuff, let's get into Vicky B. Where, hold on, let me take this picture out.